blood, no foul. It's no blood, no foul. It's no blood, no foul. Emotions spill on the court when you proud. To rep your city, New York's the hometown. Playgrounds prepare me for them hard fouls.
Hello, everyone. Welcome for another episode of the No Blood, No Foul podcast brought to you by Real GM. My name is Mukau. I'm joined by Coke and Kyle. And we're a little bit shorthanded tonight, kind of like the Knicks. I don't know, what can I say? The Knicks came out more aggressive to start the game. Rose led the Knicks with 10 points in the quarter. And Randall actually looked still a little bit shaky, but it looked like it could be a promising game for him as he scored 7 in the quarter. Knicks ended the first leading by 1. In the second quarter, the Knicks bench they were energized, but the Hawks retook the lead with a mini run. Hawks 3-point shooters were just in stride, and the Knicks, they fought back, but it was just way too much of Trae Young and wide open threes. The Hawks ended the half leading 53-49. And that's when the wheels pretty much came off the bus, fellas. Starting the third, the Knicks came out once again flat. The Hawks went on a 15-5 run early, and the Knicks were just never able to get in control again. It was ultimately downhill, fast and free from there. In a punchless, ugly loss, 113-96. This puts the Knicks in a 3-1 hole, a hole that only 8 teams in NBA history has ever come back from. So with that, let me shoot it over to my colleagues. Coke, what's your feeling about this game?
Last game I was like, it's too early to panic. They were down 2-1. I was saying this is not over, but this is looking ugly, boys. My friends, it's not looking like, this is something that's promising as far as hopes of winning this series. For as much as we were talking about before, about how much we wanted the Hawks and this was a favorable matchup, it's not really playing out that way. This is looking like just a bad matchup. There's not a single guy on this roster who can, competently defend Trae Young, and that's just what it's boiling down to. We're giving up everything to the guy. Didn't have a big shooting performance tonight. Just the impact, you just see it. He controls the tempo of the game. He breaks he breaks our defense down. Our defense just looks trash. It doesn't look anything like the defense that we played all year long. We're giving up wide open threes, wings and corners. We're giving up penetration. We're giving up the mid-range game and floaters, and we're giving up also lob plays. So it's just not Knicks brand of ball. Like I said, it's just it's concerning at this point. If it seems like the effort is there, the execution is just not. It starts on the offense, and Julius Randle, I hate to keep harping on it, but now we're 4 games in. This guy's just not playing like anything like the Julius Randle that we saw in the regular season, that won, most improved player. He just looks tentative. He's settling for mid-range jumpers, and then when he goes to the hole, he's getting bottled up, not getting clean finishes, not being able to play through contact, just looking soft, overall. Then, the supporting cast has been there with Rose. I've liked what I saw from him. He's being consistent. But my concern is playing out. I know dudes don't want to admit it, but at the end of the day, starting Rose is something I never thought was a great idea. It's playing out that when you put him in the starting lineup, we don't have enough punch off the bench. IQ, the guy has balls. He not afraid at the moment, but you can tell he's just not putting up the stats and the impact that you would have hoped to see from him. So we're not getting really a lot of offense off the bench by starting Rose. We're relying on Burks, who is now in a bit of a shooting funk. He's not really scoring efficiently. Our best bench player at this point is Obi Toppin, believe it or not. The guy had a breakout game tonight, 13 points. Looking very active again, some nice forays into the paint, left-handed swoop layup play, a little more comfortable dribbling the ball. We're seeing flashes from him, but it's sad that, when he's finally starting to play like someone who has some potential, a star is not delivering. And Kyle wanted to see some Obi Toppin and Julius Randle, and we saw some of that tonight. Didn't really net any results. So, at the end of the day, it's just looking like a bad matchup, man. The Hawks have a ton of shooters. They got Bogdanovich, they got Gallo, they got Herter, then they got Trae. Then you got Capella finishing over the top, and sadly, as bad as our offense have looked, our defenses look worse. We can't stop anyone. So we're not gonna win this series playing anything the way we played the first 4 games. So I don't know, Kyle. Tell me what you see. That's what I see.
Well, okay, I'm gonna disagree with your assessment of starting Rose. I don't think that's as big of a contributor as you're making it out. Because like I keep saying, you're gonna say, oh, we don't have anyone bringing punch off the second unit. Well, if we brought Rose off the bench, we wouldn't have anyone bringing punch off the first unit. So I think
Burks
has had one good game this entire series, one. So I understand what you're saying, but I just think that Rose is our only consistently good player throughout the last 4 games. So no matter where you bring him, where you put him in, you need other guys to step up and contribute. And like you said, Obi's stepping up a little bit off the bench, and that's really good to see as one of his biggest critics. I'm really liking him. You know how I said last time, he needs to show that he can play with Julius. I thought it didn't look too bad today. I said he needs to show he can create for himself off the dribble. He did that a couple times today.
We lose you, Kyle?
What was that?
Yeah, we lost Kyle for a bit. I mean, I don't know. I think the worst thing that can happen has happened. The Knicks are basically falling flat. They're cold across the board. Kyle, you back?
Am I back? Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
you are back.
Yes.
So
Yeah. So where did I drop off? I was praising Obi. So I'm only going to do that once. You're not going to hear me doing it a second time.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. No. So yeah, like I said, I want to see him be able to create his own offense. He did some of that today, so that's good. I want to see him work with Julius Randle if he wants to, have more of a role next year. He did that today. Koki said it didn't show much. I think to me the biggest takeaway was that we didn't get killed for it, so I think you can build off that for the future. And then my only other thing that's positive is, well, RJ Barrett had a decent game for the first time this series. So I'm ready to punt the series. Just say, whatever. I'm not it's whatever at this point. We came in, we got our cup of coffee. Just move on. If still fight. Obviously, I still want us to come back and win, but the math says that it's going to be really hard. The eye test says it's going to be really hard. So just I'm not fully saying I'm ready for the offseason yet, but I think we're kind of seeing the limits of what this team can do.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about it where this team overachieved pretty much the entire season, and we were hoping that would carry over into the offseason, and it just doesn't look like it has. When playoff starts, things get tough, and a lot of it is about talent. And the Hawks just they have more talent, and they've got more momentum right now. They're basically sucking the life out of the Knicks, and it's very hard. I mean, it was close fought games, fine. 3-1, down 3-1, okay. But after today's game, man, I don't know. I don't think towards the end the Knicks were getting chippy, and it was nice that Randall took defended Bullock's elbowing by Gallo. But honestly, I don't even think that was the heart of an elbow. I mean, I didn't fully see it, but it didn't look that bad. But it's a kind of a little bit too late, a little too late for me. I think it's going to be very difficult for this team to come back. I mean, you have to win 3 straight, right? At least one. Is that one in Atlanta? Right, one more in Atlanta.
Yeah, we have to win one more in Atlanta.
I mean, they can't stop anybody, right? So it's not stopping Trey, but the Hawks shooters, they're just on fire right now, right? And they're just always open. The biggest problem this game is, like Coke said, not only could we not figure out Trey, which is understandable, we can't figure out any of their shooters either. I don't know how many open threes these Hawks had, and you just can't win like that. This team is young. They're hungry. The Knicks, they look like they're 40 years old. Even though they're technically not. So
well, you know why that is? Because our best players are almost 40 years old. Our two best players are Rose and Taj.
I don't know. I think you don't want to give up the series, but you have to kind of be realistic a little bit. I just don't see this team pulling it. I had said that I didn't think the series would go to 7. I said that it's whichever team gains momentum. I think they're gonna, whoever gains the upper hand early, I mean, it's gonna take the series, and it looks like the Hawks did, right? They have the upper hand so far above the Knicks right now that it's gonna take a miracle. It's gonna take a 40-point game from Randall, and I don't know what the chances of that are. But it kind of is what it is. It was interesting run. Just there was, I mean, honestly, nothing good about this game to really talk about from the Knicks standpoint. It was closer. Again, it's another game where the score was closer than it looked. Right, the score was closer than it actually was. The Knicks were just pummeled. Second half came out flat. Yeah, I don't know, guys. Let's talk about the off seasons.
So talking about the off season, right? So
Yeah.
Coke, I know you've been a pretty big advocate for starting Burks. You like him. I think he's one of the guys we have to just let go at this point. I think him, Noel, and Peyton are definitely. I don't think I would just let them go. I think you can replace what they bring, or in Peyton's case, not bring.
Who's the first guy?
Burks.
Okay.
Yeah, I would let Burks go because just looking at him, he's one of those guys who, yes, he can get hot. I think you can find guys like that easily enough, and I think with the right development, quickly can take a lot of that role. And ideally, you come into next season with an actual starting point guard, so you have Rose off the bench. So I don't think he's necessarily a need for us to bring back. And then also hopefully we have a first round pick that we could use on a wing that can score. So you never know. But I think Burks is one of those guys I don't want to bring back. I'm 50-50 on Bullock just because you can never have enough 3D guys. But like you saw tonight, like man, this was like early season Bullock, right? Remember we were going on, we went in on him. I think one game he was like 30 minutes, no points, and that was tonight. So I think the only person I want to bring back from this free agent group is for sure Rose, maybe Bullock if the price is right. What about you guys?
And Taj, right?
Oh, and Taj, yeah, but I want Taj as more of a third string, like in case Mitch breaks, and I definitely think we should bring in use one of our first if we keep both of them on a rookie center to back up Mitch, and then have Taj as like the in case we need someone. That way, by the time playoffs come, he's still pretty fresh because he is still really good.
So Coker, I know last game you said you're not ready to talk about the off season. How about now?
I mean, that's why I'm sitting here a little quiet. I mean,
yeah.
I want to play along because I know nobody really wants to talk about a game where we just got our ass handed to us. But it just feels weird to me doing this. Like I'm a competitor, so
sure.
It feels like I'm giving up if I do that. I'm ready to do that when they are officially eliminated, but it's tough for me to sit here and talk about next year extensively, and we still got games to play. So I don't know, man. It just feels weird. Only thing I'm gonna say, I don't want to dwell too much on it because, like I said, the competitor in me just doesn't sit right. But I'll say this: all of my thoughts are based on the construction of the team. I don't look at it based on like individuals per se. So I can't say like, I definitely don't want Burks back, or I definitely don't want Noel back, or anyone. Like I look at it more so if we get a primary ball handler, someone who can create for himself and others, then I could see letting Burks walk if the price isn't right. If we get another 3-and-D guy in a draft or something like that who can really stroke the three ball, then Bullock might be superfluous. So then we might want to bring Burks back if the price is right. And the same thing with Noel. Like, if there's a somebody in a late draft pick who can offer some rim protection and has a little bit more size and strength to him, then I could see letting Noel go. So to me, it's all predicated on the construction of the team and not really based on the individuals. But I don't want to write the obituary yet. I know we're down 3-1. The player in me and the coach-minded person in me, it wouldn't feel good to say, this series is over. And we're supposed to be fans, so I look at it like if the fans give up. I know the players don't really listen to us and everything. That's cool, but it's just like the energy that we're putting out there. Like if the fans give up and concede defeat down 3-1, if the players did that, we will look at them as suckers. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
So I don't want
sure.
to. I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
So let me ask you this.
Coke, you talk about you don't want to write the obituary yet. I mean, did you know that for a lot of famous people, their obituaries are written well before they die? Just so they have them ready to go.
That is true. That's actually very true. That's a very.
I don't want to. I don't want to be that well prepared, man. Life insurance is as far as I want to go.
So Cook, let me ask you this: what adjustments do you think the Knicks can make to at least win another game or swing this momentum around? Was it just coming home? Was it what do you think?
Be honest, and I'm just being as as much of a straight shooter as I can be. I don't think it's anything that the coaching staff can do at this point. I mean, what could Tibbs do? Suit up and go out there and play? What could Johnny Bryant do? What could Kenny Payne do? At some point, Julius Randle has to man up. You know what I'm saying? And I keep putting it on him because he's the leader of the team. I grew up in an era where it was like Patrick Ewing. You know what I'm saying? That was that guy. If he did a choke job, 4 straight playoff games, New York media would crucify him. You know what I'm saying? Whether it was his first playoff series or not,
Yep.
he would get it. So to me, Julius Randle has to get it because you can't get the kudos, you can't get the accolades, you can't get the good publicity, you can't get the Players Tribune, write up. But then when the going gets tough, we start making excuses about, it's his first playoff showing, or what kind of defenses they're throwing at him, or not having a lot of talent around him. Screw that, man. Like, winners find a way, leaders find a way. This guy has to put the ball in the hole, okay? He's shooting abysmally throughout this series. Every single game has been atrocious from the floor. I question the desire. I know we saw a little bit of what I was asking for today, this afternoon. Yesterday I was saying, like, yo, put some hard fouls on these dudes. Show a little bit of chippiness. Let's play with some New York tough-minded mentality and start making these guys think about something. They tried to go there, but like you guys said, it was a little too late. With the little Bullock and Randall, taking offense to a few things and getting some texts. But at the end of the day, it's funny if you notice, those are the 2 guys who aren't showing up all series, Bullock and Randall. Pretty much. Burks has had his moments. Rose has been there all series. Taj has been there all series. Obi's been there all series. Other guys have shown up in flashes, like IQ had a few moments. But the guys who have disappeared the most are those 2 dudes. So hopefully that chippiness at the end, maybe that's the adjustment, a mental thing where you just say enough is enough. You try to turn it on next game. You make a statement that, at least if you're going to lose, you're going to go down like a dog that's, fighting for his last meal, and that's really the only thing I can do. Because as far as scheme, we just don't have the personnel to stop Trey. It's sad. It's like, it hurts me to say that. I'm looking at Frank. He didn't do the job that night. It's well documented. He didn't stop shit on that last play. I don't think giving him consistent minutes is going to change anything because he struggles with small guys. I don't really see anyone else that can guard Trey in space one-on-one. So I don't really think it's a scheme thing. We're going to have trouble anyway. I mean, at some point, it's just, to me, you just got to be disciplined. You can't give up everything. Just pick one thing that you are going to concede and try to stop everything else. Right now, we're stopping nothing.
So, I'm going to say, this might be a bit controversial, but I think he's not going to stop Trey, but I think our best defender on him might actually be Quickly, just because he kind of has that same kind of body type where he's, quick enough on his feet that he can kind of move around enough, and he has pretty long arms too. He's not a great defender or a good defender. I think he might actually be our best on him. But again, I don't think he deserves to start, especially given how poorly he's played on offense this series. But going back to that, so if Bullock isn't giving you anything on offense and he's not really providing the level of defense you want, do you think it might be fair to swap him with Frank at some point to see if Bullock isn't hitting his threes, maybe Frank might hit one and they're not too far apart defensively. I think that might be something you could try. That's not going to change a series or anything, but that's my only the defense. That's my only thing of where I would say, maybe if you could get Frank in there. Other than that, like you said, there's really not much we can do.
Right.
there's really not much we can do. Our guys just are not performing. This was RJ's first, decent game, and he wasn't, great. This was Randall's best game, and he was still really bad. And then, Rose has been great all series, but he can't do it by himself. Taj's been great too, but he's not going to score you points. He's, disruptive on defense. And,
Right.
Burks is, well, he's inconsistent. That's just who he is, So there's not really much more we could do other than hope that Randall, Art, and RJ and Quickly kind of get it together and, get to the point where they were in the season. Get better on offense. That's really all we can hope for them to do. And hope that coincides with a good Burks night.
Yeah, I mean,
Can I
yeah, go ahead, Coach.
I just want to address a direct point with the whole Frank thing. I just don't think Frank is the answer at all. And to me, he hasn't been the answer for anything all season. Until like when you're on your the brink of elimination and to go to that, you know, the coach in me, I wouldn't do it, because he hasn't played a large role with the team all year. So to then put that on him, where's that confidence coming from? You feel what I'm saying? Like me personally, I would want to remain consistent to the guys I've trusted all year. And Frank has not had a large role with this team. So what I would do is I agree that Bullock is falling short. He's been too streaky as a shooter this series. He's not the defender who's going to slow down Trey because I see they're using him at the point of attack because they're conceding Rose can't really guard in space, holding down Trey. And RJ obviously can't in the starting lineup, and Elf is out of it. So it's falling on Bullock. He's not getting the job done offensively or defensively. So I will agree with Kyle that I would start Burks, but I would go large chunks of the game, giving Quickly more minutes. And the reason I say that is because you can't ever question what's in Quickly's shirt. The dude has no fear in him. If he gets hot from three, he's shown that he's a momentum changer who can change a game and a series. And on top of that, he's a traditional guard size, but he has more size than Trey. So the hope is maybe you can bother the guy, and he's an offensive threat. Maybe you can make Trey play some defense. No one's made this dude play defense all year. I don't think Frank is gonna.
I was just about to bring that up once you were done talking. Is that would be also my response to I would scale back Bullock's minutes, and I wouldn't bring Frank in for that because you need to make him work on defense. And we're not
Frank's
really
not going to do that either.
Yeah, no, that's what I said. I wouldn't. That's why I also wouldn't bring. That's why I wouldn't bring Frank in at that point. I would say you need to have like in the third quarter today when Trey comes out, he has 3 fouls, and we have Bullock out there, and Trey's just parked in the corner resting. Yeah, Bullock can't punish Trey on offense, and he can't work him to try and get him to foul trouble. So you look at that and you say, all right, put Rose, RJ, Burks, Randall, and Taj out there, and then no matter who he's on, just go to that. Play some of that. Play some of that. ISO ball against Trey. Make Trey be the one that has to defend you. I think that I don't know why we haven't tried to do that so far. It's just one of those things that that might be able to. I don't know if that'll completely turn it around, but we should try it at least. It's gotten good results when we do go to that.
It's just too much.
I think it's worth a try. I think the problem is the Hawks, they have a lot of length, right? So they recover well. I mean, they're recovering defensively a lot better than the Knicks all series. So it kind of closes out the possibility that if you're going to actually go at Trey, what they can do is they'll switch, right? Or they'll throw another guy, and their guys can get back to their primary defensive assignment faster than the Knicks can. We're seeing that. And plus, if our guys get past Trey and Trey lets them go, they've got that big guy down low, and that's been a problem. Yeah.
Well, that's the thing is that if Capella has to rotate over to guard whoever's driving in, then you should be able to get a good look because now you have 4 defenders on 5 offensive players. That's the whole thing. And when you talk about switching, they'd switch off Trey. Just don't go out in the pick and roll. Don't let them switch. Go at him one-on-one. It won't work. It won't work great because we don't have great ISO players, but it could probably work pretty well.
But we also don't have great passers off the dribble. That's what I've noticed is that the Hawks, when you look at Trey and you look at Lou Williams, Those are two guys, they can be, they'll drive to the basket, and if you pull off and try to cover them, they'll find your guy quickly. I don't know that the Knicks have the players that can do that. I could be wrong, but I don't know. I just don't see it. There's been a
I'm
lot of times when the Knicks players were open, and no, our ball handlers are not noticing them. So I don't know.
in the
That's
play
yeah. Go ahead.
in the playoffs, right? Floor shrinks.
Yep.
Feel me? Because it becomes a half court game. It's a little more grinded out. The effort plays are multiple efforts on defense rather than a primary effort. You see guys giving 3-4 efforts. You know what I'm saying, on every play. So that shrinks the floor. So the reason why the Knicks look like complete ass, moving the ball around and sharing the ball on offense is because the first thing is the Hawks are competing a lot more as far as effort plays, multiple effort plays on every defensive possession. The second thing is that Julius Randle he's not a poised player. Every time he tries to put the ball on the floor, he's getting sped up. The Hawks are throwing some length at him. He's throwing the ball away. He's just panic passing. And that's why we're not finding an open man in rhythm. And with playoff basketball, when the floor shrinks, you got a split second to, make a decision and get your shot off. If you hesitate or if you get sped up or bottled up, losing a ball, not making a clean handle, clean passes, that's going to close your window of opportunity for an open shot. And we're seeing the Hawks being very decisive. They're getting to they're getting to their spots. They're finding guys quickly and cleanly and getting that shot off. And then Knicks are getting bottled up a hell of a lot, man. How many times have we seen dudes dribbling off their foot, running back towards the half court line, to avoid the violation, having dudes pick them up, 3/4 court, and they're not even getting into the offense until, 10, 12 seconds are off the clock. All kinds of foolery, man. It's just not clean, smart, poised basketball. And that's killing us, man. And the last point that I want to make in this breath is back to Bullock. Like, we're being a bit too loyal to him. I know he had a big shooting, regular season, but the regular season and the playoffs is two different things. You need ball movers. You need guys who can handle the ball. And you need guys who can create. The epitome of this and what I'm going to spell out that, like, kind of, indicts Bullock for this whole series. Knicks they had a little bit of momentum going. They were trying to get this thing in the third quarter down to 10 heading into the fourth. We're on a fast break. It's a 2-on-1, I believe, with Bullock and RJ.
Yep.
This guy gets bottled up by Trey, a dude who is 5'11", he's a featherweight. He gets bottled up and travels with minimum pressure. It's like you can't even put the ball on the floor and make a clean pass.
That was the final.
And that was the game.
Yeah,
that was the game. So, just to reiterate, that's why I say if we're going to cut Bullock's minutes, we cannot go to Frank because he has a lot of the same shortcomings as Bullock. Right. Let's go heavy on Quickly. Like, I would die on that Quickly hill, even with him being a rookie, because at least I know the dude, he can stroke the three. He's not going to be afraid. He's a better passer than Bullock. You're not going to lose that much on defense because Trey's lighting everyone up. And I'd rather give Trey 50 but try to shut everyone else down. I think that should be the mantra.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I like the idea of going with Quickly a lot more because he's not shook, right? He doesn't play shook. A lot of these other Knicks, Bullock, there's a reason I guess nobody wanted him, and the Knicks were able to sign him for so cheap, right? I think he had spurts which got the Knicks fans' hopes up, but he kind of is what he is, right? He's a 3-point shooting guy that you can't really rely on necessarily to be in the starting lineup. He's a okay defender. I wouldn't say he's a great defender, right? It's kind of the same argument we had with Frank all these years. Is that is Frank a great defender, or is he just better than anybody else on the team, right? So I think with Bullock it's kind of the same thing, where we're expecting or we're asking him to do more than he can possibly do. Because it's just not his game. It's never been his game. His entire career has been a bench guy that shouldn't be relied upon to the degree that I think the Knicks need to. So that kind of goes back again, into the whole overachieving thing, and how when it comes playoff time, everything shrinks, everything becomes more difficult, and guys that you can't ask guys to do things that they've never done before, and I think that's what's biting the Knicks right now. Is a lot of these guys are expected to play a bigger role than they've really ever played before, and that's in the playoffs. So I think that's what we're seeing here is that across the board, right? The only two guys that are doing well, Rose and Taj, they're the only guys that have consistently been here. They know what it takes, right? Randall's first time, and he's just thinking up a storm, right? He looks more shaken up than anybody else. And when your number one guy can't carry the load, you're kind of offsetting and you're passing the load expectation to someone else. Other than Rose, none of these guys have ever played that kind of significant, being the second option, right? Randall right now is not first option, second option, third option right now, right? He's just kind of there. He'll get points, but it'll take him like 20 shots to get five in, whatever it is. So that forces the Knicks to say, okay, we need a real second option. Is that RJ? Is that Burks? I don't know. Regular season, maybe. For a stretch when they're hot, maybe. But for the playoffs, no. And I think that's killing them right now. Their hope is, they turn things around. Hopefully this is just another game, right? That you swallow and you move on. And we'll see what happens. Okay. So, ugly game overall. Let's, Coke, you want to give us your scrub of the night?
Yeah, man. Not gonna get fancy with it tonight. It's Julius Randle, man. I don't need to throw out the stats again. Another ugly game, terrible shooting from the floor. No poise, no leadership. Just more of the same. What we've seen all series long, 4 games in. So nothing's changed here. I can't dare give it to a Hawks player at this point. The Knicks, they're earning these things every night, and it's looking at it's Julius. You can talk about Bullock as honorable mention, but the lead dog is our guy who should be doing it all for us. He had an all-around season, but he's given us all-around poor play in the playoffs. So he's earned it, bro.
Yeah.
So talking about kind of scrubby players, right? What do you guys think, our guys who have been pretty scrubby in the playoffs, what do you guys think the odds are that we can trade Randall for Chris Paul this offseason? Because he's been stinking it up the playoffs. You guys seen that?
Chris Paul.
Yeah, you seen him in the playoffs?
Yeah.
Having like 6 points a game, below 40% shooting. He's not good.
To be honest, as bad as Randall's playing, though, I'm just trying to be, clear-minded here. I don't think the Knicks will move him.
Yeah, no.
I think they believe in him as a piece. I think he's just kind of like has too much on his plate right now. So I don't think they're gonna make a major switch like that or moving him out for a guy like Paul, who's for as great as he is, all-time great point guard, and he elevates every team that he's on. Just don't think they'll move Randall for a guy at his age.
Yeah, I think it's too early to give up on Randall. Don't extend him because I think they have an option of extending him this offseason.
Yeah, you can extend him this offseason if you want.
Maybe not extend him because you kind of never know, and try to look at it as we'll give you next season to see if this playoffs was a mirage, and you come back even stronger. If you do, then the Knicks always have that option. They can offer him more money with either, right? Extension, they're the only ones that can offer him, or just sign him as a free agent. I wouldn't extend him per se. I would let's see what happens next season. Because you never know, right? Things happen. Additional moves can be made or not made. Players that you think you might be able to get ends up going to another teams and signing, whatever. So I don't think you want to lock things up right now, but I do think the Knicks, they need to make a decision on what they believe in and what direction they really want to take. We talked about this a little bit, where we questioned, whether the Knicks should have done a little bit more during the, before the deadline to see if they can get anything in, and they kind of basically stood pat, right? So they need to make a decision on, I think, not to drag this out to off season, but I think they need to make a decision on what direction they really want to head in. If they really think they're ready, you maybe make a move for not necessarily CP3 or empty the tank for an elite guy, but you got to do something, right? This team definitely cannot go deep into the playoffs. We could say they may be able to beat certain teams in the East in the playoffs, but they can't go deep. They just don't have enough talent. So if you think this is a playoff team, you got to add talent, and it's got to be top tier talent, not more role players, because more role players cannot step up their roles when you need them. which is what we're saying, right? Randall needs help, right? The help he needs is not more players that are, on a lower level than him. He needs another player that's at least on his level, if not a higher level than him. Easier said than done, but that's kind of what they need. So they need to go one or the other. If you don't think this is for real, you just kind of string this along and be competitive, then okay, I don't know if that's a good plan. Or you make some moves, right? Do what you can. That's what this front office is here for, more so than anything else.
I think we will need to make a move at some point. I don't know if we need to make a move as soon as this off season. I think we can afford to to stand pat a little longer, be opportunistic, because you see how it goes for some of these teams that jump the gun a little too early, that they don't actually get the results. So I think what you got to do is you got to look around, you got to keep your ear to the ground, and you got to make sure you're making the right move at the right time. And I think that's what Leon Rose is going to do. I think we've only had him for one off season, but I think you look at what he did. He was just waiting for the opportune moment, so to speak. He's making just not panicking, not saying, all right, I need to make this kind of move and then going out and making it. More saying, all right, I'll see what my options are and then decide what to do. So I think we have another year of we can more or less run it back, see how Randall and RJ, quickly Obi and Mitch do next year, and then from there make the decision. I think we have until next offseason before that's when we really need to make a decision. Other than that, yeah, we are eventually going to have to bring in an actual superstar or someone at least on Randall's level or higher. But it doesn't have to be right away. We can afford to wait a little longer.
Let me throw this out there real quick.
Mhm.
In regards to Randall, this is the silver lining. His bad play, throughout these playoffs could, turn out to be a blessing in disguise. Hear me out here. Guy is costing himself money, okay? And knowing how the New York media is and the dynamic on how we report things, he has pretty much changed the outlook of his entire series with this playoffs. It's not fair, but it is what it is. No one, we're gonna remember what he did, but it's gonna be a stench with this playoff outing, and it's gonna create a question of which one is the real Randall. Is it the one in the regular season, or is it the one in the off season? So I think if he came out and knocked it out the park in the playoffs, he'd have a lot of leverage with an extension talk. He'd solidify himself as definitely staying with the team, not being a trade option at all, pretty much being untouchable. It opens up the door for them to be open-minded with things, maybe take a little bit of a slower approach to securing him financially. I think it definitely cost them a little bit of money. That question is going to linger of which one is the real you, the playoff Randall or the regular season Randall. And in the end, financially for us, I think it gives the management a little bit more leverage, in slowing things down, as Kyle said, with the gravy train and getting this dude another contract right away.
Yeah, right now it's he's basically stamped that asterisk next to that MIP title, right? Because with the way he's been playing, most improved player regular season should add a R at the end of it right now. Because see, right now I think he's, even with CP3, he's probably the worst number one option in the playoffs right now on any team, right? By far. I don't think there's anyone that's doing worse.
Well, Chris Paul isn't even a number one option. I just wanted to.
Right.
I just wanted to be like,
Right.
hey, I know we haven't talked about how bad Chris Paul has been this playoffs.
He still would have been nice. I mean, heck, I was like
He
I said, I
would
told you,
he would be our best point guard. I mean, depends on how you feel about. I mean, they probably better than Rose, but you could play. But like talking about Rose as a scorer, you could play
right.
Chris Paul as a starter, bring Rose off the
That's
bench.
the thing, right?
Yeah.
You want to play guys in their roles that they're good at, they're best at.
Your best starting point guard. Rose would be our best sixth man type.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, like Rose with Randall and sorry, not Rose. Paul with Randall and Rose is a good thing.
Right.
Paul in replacement of Randall, I'm not really feeling that.
We don't
so
have
I think
Booker,
that,
we don't have Ayton, we don't have any of those other guys, right? Yeah.
Or Booker.
if anything, the argument of Paul might bode well for, and I don't agree with this, but I'm just telling you what other people might say, might bode well with the thought process of, hey, get Lowry in here, as a stopgap, 1 or 2 year deal at a high dollar amount. to support Rose, keep him in the 6-man role and give Randall another bona fide player in the starting lineup, in replacement of Alfred. Maybe someone might be thinking along those lines. I still don't subscribe to that newsletter because I want more long-term options. That's what we're going to be with the team and have a future here.
I mean, they're going to have to project, right, and kind of predict who's going to be available, who do they think realistically they can get over the next 2 years. If not, there may be some interesting options, right? Guys that with big contracts, with big talent that, if you're willing to say, well, can we do just, we don't see anything within the next 2 years, maybe we'll just, upgrade with, said player. And it could be a Lowry, it could be another big name guy that we talked about early before the season started, right? Or leading up to the trade deadline. That's on a different playoff team right now that's struggling. Maybe you guys know what I'm talking about. So I'm talking about a big dollar point guard that is absolutely talented. He's in the playoffs, but his team is also struggling. Right. So can you guys guess who I'm talking about? Other than CP3.
Oh no! You're not gonna do this to me.
I'm gonna start things up.
No, no.
I'm drawing a blank.
Stop
man.
it.
Give me a name. Give me a name.
No.
Eastern Conference.
No.
Last team in the playoffs.
Stop it. We are not bringing Russell Westbrook in here.
Oh, Westbrook. Yo, man. Al, you don't want to hear it, man, but I wouldn't be opposed to it, man. What's this? How many more years he got on the deal?
2. Mm-hmm.
He finished the season crazy strong. I don't know if you guys are forgetting that.
Yeah.
He's 38 triple-double, something like that.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Are you comfortable with Westbrook and Randall as your core for the next 2 years? Because if you bring Westbrook in, between him and Randall, you're not going to be able to sign anyone else.
Well, that's the thing. Like, who
can?
Yeah.
That's what I was going to say. If you can, you draft some shooters. You get some a gritty center in here to do the work that Noel couldn't do for us. Mitch comes back healthy. I think with a core of Westbrook, Randall, Rose off the bench, and a few shooters that we can draft, I think at that point our only weakness would be because the shooter that we draft might be young, so you would need another 3-and-D guy who's like a knockdown guy. Not a Reggie Bullock, but like a real shooter. If we could maybe get that somehow, I wouldn't be too mad at a team like that. Because Westbrook, he's gonna bring the fire. That's one thing he has.
What this team misses, right?
And we missed that. And he can move the ball. I know he has some ball hog reputation issues and everything, especially in crunch time. But he gets those assists. He draws attention. He can collapse the defense. He's a shot creator for himself and others. So it solves those issues. At that point, it would be the shooting. And I think, if anything, that's probably the area in the NBA that you can fill gaps in the easiest, finding shooters cheaply.
And, the fact that he's 32 and has always underperformed in the playoffs, pretty bad.
What's he doing right now?
He's about to get swept. He's averaging 17 a game on 40% from the field.
It's a risk, man. It's a risk.
It goes back to the whole thing of this is why I'm not the biggest fan of Ja, because for players like that where you only really have the downhill attack the rim, it can work, but in order to really be a great point guard in modern day, you need to be able to do more than just one thing. You need to be able to score from multiple levels. That's my issue with bringing a guy like Westbrook is, yes, he would be our best point guard in years, but that's not saying much. He's also clearly on the decline, not as good as he used to be. You lock in with him for 2 years. You have no flexibility after you sign him. It's one of those things where I don't think Westbrook and Randall are good enough by themselves to win. So I guess maybe if I'm being optimistic, maybe RJ can develop into a decent third option in that time. Yep. But I'm not a fan of bringing Westbrook in for that.
Hey, Kyle, let me ask you this, man. I'm gonna put you on the spot. If it required no future assets, just taking them on, would you do it?
You could convince me it wasn't the worst idea. Because like I said, he is a clear upgrade over what we have. But I don't know if he's enough to put us over the top with what we currently have, even if we give up nothing.
Because I'm looking at it like if we lighten their financial load, right? We have the cap space. I think we'll have 60 million. You know, if we don't exercise any options and stuff like that, take up what 35. I think he makes. It leaves us.
Oh, no, he's making 45.
45. Holy shit!
Yeah, that's all. Oh, wow.
That's a lot.
I didn't realize that. That's a little bit too much. Maybe.
Yeah.
All
right. That's tough. That's
Next year he's making 44 million. A year after that, he's making 47. That's why I say, once you make that move, you're pretty locked into that. You can't. You don't have flexibility.
I never understood that. Just to kind of tell off a little bit how the NBA would work that out, where your supermax guy can make so much, and still your salary cap is only like 110 million. I mean, that to me just never made sense. But
serious.
Right. So, but all right. Well, in any case,
I think I think a guy that I would prefer over Westbrook, because I think you can get a similar level of play from him. He's a free agent. Mike Conley. I think you look at that. You could sign. It's the same level. It's the same mold as like a Kyle Lowry type of move. We'd be a stopgap for a year or two. He'd be making less money than Westbrook. You don't have to give up assets for him, and he's a pretty solid point guard. He's not gonna make us into a great team, but he'll be able to stabilize us and have us be good for the next year or two until we can make that move for a star player. So a guy like him or Lowry, as long as we're not paying him a long-term money.
Like if we exhaust all of the options and that's like a fallback, I'm good with that. And then it maintains flexibility if it's a 1-year deal, and if we see an opportunistic strike, we can still do that. I wouldn't be mad at that.
True. Very true. All right. Let's wrap it up. Coach, you want to give us your final thoughts?
Well, just with how bad we've played this offseason, the playoffs, postseason. One thing I will say is that if anything, it has greatly exposed our warts. We clearly overachieved in the regular season, and this has shown management, I believe, that the type of team that we truly are, where we need our upgrades. So I think they'll have a clear vision of exactly what needs to be done in the offseason as far as what to target. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be successful at what we target, but at least they'll know where to look. And, that's the only thing I can take away, because maybe if we get to the second round and, Randall's knocking it out the park and, some of these other guys are performing at a high level, the fear would have been maybe we overpaid to bring some of these guys back. We kind of end up stuck in a treadmill. Now they know, like it's clear, it's apparent as hell that this is not really a team that's ready for the big stage as far as competing deep into the playoffs. So the takeaway is Wes and Leon and Aller and these guys, they're seeing what's wrong, and hopefully they can solve these issues in the off season without any mirages, so to speak.
I think I've said pretty much all I need to say on the matter. I think the only thing that I would have left to say as final thoughts is I think this is going to be one of those moments where we look back on it and us losing in the first round is one of the things that galvanized the team, that, took our star players, showed them, hey, do need to get better. We talk about, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. Sometimes you got to go through the agony of defeat before you get the thrill of victory. So I think long term this could be good for us, but I'm still saying, keep that patient approach. Let's wait and see. Let's see how, the draft plays out. Let's see how free agency plays out. And then when the move is right, when we can get a guy for less than he's worth, make the move. And then that'll take us over the top.
Wow, man, you stealing my shtick, man. you taking my stuff. Because I said that about Miami. I would have loved to get my butt whipped by Miami and build some character. Remember we were talking about that?
Hey, is it not better? Is it not better to get whipped by the Hawks? Because then you go, wow. Because like if we lost to Miami, we go, well, they are a really good team. They made the final last year. We get whipped by the Hawks. It's like, man, Jesus, we gotta get better.
Actually, it might have been better if we played the Heat. But yeah, I mean. Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think we are seeing kind of the Knicks exposed, right? For what they have, it's not to discredit what they've done. They did more than anybody thought they possibly could. Randall coming back, I think so, right? Because he's already proved that he could come back from adversity. Last year, he was getting, brutalized by Knicks fans saying all sorts of things about him. He didn't, turn away and run. He worked in the offseason and he came back, right? He came back and won the MIP and was the Knicks' best player in the regular season. This is a troubling sign, but I'm expecting him, and hopefully that he can, take this playoff and just like the regular season last year, and come back stronger. I think it's still definitely too early to give up on him. You still want him to be part of the future of this team. But yeah, it's just so far it's not been a good look. And like I said, he's got right now that asterisk next to the MIP. Because if he continues to suck and the Knicks get, blown out the next game, nobody's going to remember the great regular season, right? That's what Coke said, and he's going to echo it. No one's going to remember that. They're going to remember the playoffs where you shot 28% from the field and basically couldn't go one-on-one against the Hawks, number one option, who's basically terrorizing the Knicks right now, right? Absolutely terrorizing the Knicks. So I mean, we'll see what hopefully, next game they'll come back and they'll figure out.
Oh, hang on.
Yep.
One more thing.
Yep.
I just remembered it now.
Mm-hmm.
Another point guard option for us in the offseason that I'm not a huge fan of, but we might be able to get him for cheap. Colin Sexton, he'd be better than Westbrook.
Yes.
He's younger. He gives you basically what Westbrook gives you, except he's smaller. I'd rather have him than Westbrook, depending on how much we give to him.
Warts?
It's basically the same problem I have with Westbrook, is that he can't really create jumpers off the dribble. He can shoot from off the catch, but not off the dribble. That's my big problem with him.
Yeah, that's a problem.
I don't mind that deal, man. I like that.
It depends.
He's gonna put pressure.
If he comes for defense,
and he makes us play faster too.
That's been a killer for this team as well, right? Part of the reason why Randall can't, he sucked. It's because by the time he gets the ball, the Hawks defense is all set. They can't run. We've seen when Randall runs, he does well. The problem is he doesn't have a lot of opportunity to do that the way the Hawks are playing and the way the rest of the teammates are. It's not to discredit his teammates and to give him an excuse, but he's not. I've said this before, right? He's not LeBron, so he can't do everything by himself. Especially in the playoffs, he needs help. He needs help getting set up so that he can actually get the ball in better positions. You can't keep throwing it at him, expecting him to create against upper tier defenses in the playoffs. You just can't. And he's showing it. He's turning it over. He's throwing it out. He's doing what he's doing right now is the result of it.
So what I said, I just looked it up. So he only shoots 31% from three off the dribble, but off the catch he's a 40% 3-point shooter. So he's not going to provide. Like I said, there's still a problem of with the ball in his hands. Mm-hmm. He's not going to be able to. His game's going to be more limited when it comes to playoffs because teams are going to force him to try and create out the dribble. But hey, that's better. That's better than Westbrook shooting, and he's younger.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. The young thing is what makes him a viable option for me because he could probably improve on shooting off the dribble. These guys that are still in their early to mid 20s, they still have a shot at getting better. It's about if they get in the gym and work on their game. So he seems like a pretty intense personality. I've only heard knocks on him with sharing the ball, not really about work ethic. So maybe the guy could improve and grow with that core. That's what I like the best. Get some guys in here who can grow with Randall and RJ and quickly and even Obi because Obi's showing some flashes that he belongs, man. I like it. That's what a night.
Or if we're talking about Cavs point guards, maybe we can fleece the Cavs into being the Cavs and get them to think that they'd rather have Sexton and give us Garland instead. I'd rather have Garland.
I thought she was gonna go Brunson. You threw me off.
Yeah, I think so.
Brunson. Okay.
Because you said Dallas. So.
Yeah. No, I meant Cleveland. Did I say Dallas? I meant Cleveland.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, I meant if we're gonna try and trade with the Cavs for a point guard, I'd rather have a Garland if we can get them to be the Cavs and.
I think they'll keep Garland.
Yeah,
it comes down to those two.
I think they're a bit smarter than that.
Yep.
Brunson, you don't like him? He has the ties to Worldwide West.
He's fine. He's fine.
I think Brunson is fine if the Knicks were further along and had some more, a few better guys. I mean, I just don't see him as a
he's
starting caliber.
He's more
point
like a
guard.
role player, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
super
that's-
utility role player type, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like Fred VanVleet. It's how I kind of, that's the same kind of view I have of him.
Yeah. That's
Not
true.
an ideal starting point guard, a super six man, something like that. But the Knicks really don't need that. They need more.
Yeah, they need some firepower, man.
Yeah. All right, guys. So next game, we'll be here. Let's hope it's a win. For Coke, Kyle, and myself. Thanks for joining us today.
It's no
Goodbye.
blood, no foul. It's no blood, no foul. It's no blood, no foul. Crying for calls, we took your morale. Congratulations till we run that clock out. MSG to Mecca, this is our house. NYC forever when we mob out. See that kid drip, got that clock clout. Till we run that clock out. MSG Mecca, our house. NYC forever, mob out. Kid trip, Clyde Clout.